الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. If you ever get to travel to New York City, you find that the island of Manhattan is connected to other boroughs via a lot of bridges. Some of them are really old. For example, Brooklyn Bridge might be over 125 years old. And these are the kinds of bridges that are built from both boulders, rocks, as well as steel. Now, one thing that you notice that such bridges are always in constant maintenance. And it's not the rock part, but it is the steel and iron part which we think to be impervious and to be really strong. That's the part that they have to worry about. Why? Because when the steel gets in touch with oxygen, oxidation happens. Iron or ferrous, it changes into ferrous oxide, what we call rust. And what rust does it weakens the steel. And so it doesn't have the same strength that it used to have before. And so they have to constantly support it, add more steel, get rid of the rust. They have to make sure that they're applying some compounds that can ease or get rid of the oxidation process. Right? So it keeps on functioning the way that it is supposed to function. And so this quality is not within the rock or the boulder. A boulder is a boulder is a boulder. It just sits there and it does what it's supposed to do. So it's within the steel itself that this oxidation, it's a property of the steel that it oxidizes, and hence it's it is susceptible to rusting, weakness, etc. So today, subhanAllah, we came across many ayahs that really requires us to ponder. For example, one of the ayahs that mentioned was the rusting of the heart. Okay? So this is that when the rusting of the heart happens, the heart itself hardens. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about our own qulub. It is the property of the qalb that if you don't take care of it, if you do not protect it, if you do not apply compounds to it that protects it, if you do not close the windows through which this heart gets affected, then the same thing happens to the steel. Steel, which is supposed to be full of quwwah, strength, it becomes so weakened that it can actually, collapse. Whole bridges can collapse, and they do collapse because the maintenance is not done. So when the heart collapses, the whole person collapses with it. And this is on a physical as well as metaphysical level. So how does this rusting of the heart happen? Again, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a hadith he has mentioned that when a person sins or becomes disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a dark spot appears on the qalb. If a person does not do tawbah and he insists on sinning again and again and again, that darkness keeps on increasing, right? Because now the maintenance of the heart is not happening till a time comes that the heart becomes completely darkened. And so this is the hardness of the heart that the Quran is talking about. The heart becomes desensitized. Now it doesn't care. Right? It doesn't care what is halal, what is haram. You can try to convince a person, don't do this, this is wrong. Now the heart is so hardened or so rusted that nothing penetrates it. Right? It's so rusted, there's a layer around it. around what is supposed to be the real heart. There's a layer around it. And so the nur does not penetrate. So there's this darkness and zulmat. And there's filth there. It just keeps on gathering on it. Right? It just attracts filth. And so one of the things that we notice with such a heart is that the thoughts are extremely impure. That the thoughts are just wandering, it's just here and there and everywhere. It will think about, gand, gand begets gand. So whatever is, if there's filth there, the filth will be the lens through which the thoughts are produced. And so what do we need to do? Zikrullahi shifa'ul qulub. But the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the vinegar. Sometimes they use vinegar to get rid of the rust. Zikrullah is the shifa, is the cure of sick hearts. And there's another narrations that mentions that everything has a cycle, and the cycle of heart is the zikr of everything has a polish. You have to polish it. And we've seen this, even sometimes when there's rust on utensils back home, there's a process, it's called kalay. I don't know how they do it, but they apply some material on the utensils, on handis and whatnot, and then there's some electricity that's applied, and it just, all the filth just comes off. Something like that needs to be done to the heart for it to be cleansed. And as we have mentioned, that heart is very closely associated with the nafs. One is in alam-e-amr, the other is in alam-e-khalq. So if the heart is sick, for sure the nafs is going to be sick. And if the nafs is sick, for sure the heart is going to be affected. It just doesn't work any other way. So today we heard 2 ayahs that talk about this, actually 3 ayahs. 2 of them very closely related. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about success and ultimate success, and success after which there's no failure. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى and قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. 2 ayahs, pretty much the same meaning, that success, there's no doubt that ultimate success is for such a person who goes through this process of purification of the nafs, but also the purification on the tasfiyah of the heart. There's a difference, and the mashayikh have written this, that what is the difference? I mean, you're doing tazkiyah of the nafs, but you're also doing tazkiyah of the heart, but what really is the difference? And they mentioned that, when it comes to the heart, the rust is on the outside. Just like the iron, the rust is on the outside. Right? And so you can clean it. Just like if there's dust, what do? You just wipe it, and wiping cleans it. It's not inside it. Rust is not inside, it's outside, and it weakens it. So tasfiyah is the process of just wiping clean. Right? You come in, the table is dirty, you just wipe it. But then they mentioned that tazkiyah, in a technical sense, is more involved, because the nafs itself has the فَأَلْحَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. It itself has the shar within it. Right? Allah Ta'ala has put the khair and shar within it. So when, let's say, your clothes become dirty, you can't just wipe it off. If you drop some ketchup on yourself and you wipe it, it makes it even more dirty. So what do? You have to take it through another process of cleaning. We put it in the washing machine, we put some detergent in, put all these OxyClean and whatnot, and right, turn the washing machine on, and goes round and round and round and round, right? Half an hour, and right? So it has to go through this process, and then it comes out clean. You can't just wipe something like that. Right? And so the nafs is exactly like that, thinking that it won't require mujahidah, thinking that it won't require opposition to its lazat. That's not how it works. It needs a process. It needs a process to realize that itminan, become nafsul mutma'inna. And we heard that ayah today as well. Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutma'inna. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing that nafs that is submitted, that is content with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that has surrendered its khahishat, its lazat, its desires to the will of Allah ta'ala. So what does Allah ta'ala say to such a nafs? Irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyah. That it is being called to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to its Rabb, in a state, two states, radiyatan mardiyah, right? It is a state in which it is pleased with Allah. So it means that is also something that we have to learn. Sometimes we're just not happy with Allah ta'ala. This is, rada bil qada, right? That you are in a state of complete pleasure with Allah. That Allah, I am radi with you. Raditu billahi rabba wa bil islami dina wa muhammadin nabiyyan wa rasulah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Reciting that in the morning and at night. It is claiming, Ya Allah Kareem, Allah, I am happy and I'm pleased with you. I'm pleased with you. وَالْقَدْرِ خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِّهِ مِنَ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. Whatever my qadr is, Allah, I am pleased with you. So this is radiyah. Al-mardiyah is what? It's a state in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with the nafs. That is also something that has to be learned. It's not something that just comes. To be pleased with Allah and to become somebody that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu. Allah को राजी करना भी सीखना पड़ता है, Allah से राजी रहना भी सीखना पड़ता है. Both states of being, these are states of being that we have to realize, we have to actualize in our own lives. And once you do that, this is a very high maqam. The nafs is being addressed, a nafs that has realized and reached this state. فَادْخُلِي فِي عِبَادِي. These are my special people, my true ibad, right? And we mentioned this, that becoming a true abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, our dream come true. That is all that we want, is to become a true abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there is the perfect abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So in his ittiba', in his ata'at, and following his beautiful uswa hasana, we try to become a true abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَادْخُلِي فِي عِبَادِي. Okay, these are my special people. Okay. So, please. First, you have to be part of the ibad. And then all of them together, وَادْخُلِي جَنَّتِي. Well, this is for you. Enter my Jannah together. This grow, this, jamaat of ibad, of true ibad of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So such a nafs that has realized two things. Radiyah wa mardiyah. And Mashaykh have written that there are 7 states of nafs, right? So other than amara, lawama, and mutma'inna, they also say radiyah, mardiyah, etc., etc. The other states as well. So this is the state of the nafs, being pleased and becoming something that is pleasing. And so we have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this month of Ramadan, that Allah ta'ala gives us this. Because remember we said in the beginning, this month is about tazkiyah. This month is about purification, rectification, and majahidah. Because Allah ta'ala has made everything easy for us. Right? And so if we want to change, this is the big question mark, right? Do we really want to change? That really is a big question. Because some people are just happy the way they are. And that's a sad statement to make, that we're just happy. If you're happy with the way you are, and you might be, then there's no progress. Why should I progress? I'm happy, I'm content. And I probably shouldn't give this example. And sometimes you go on the streets and there are those of our brothers and sisters who may be homeless. Right? And sometimes you get to talk to them. Inshallah, we should give them sadaqah if we can. And sometimes they're like, I'm just happy the way that I am, brother. Right? It's like they have accepted, this is not that being radi, but this is just like, I'm not going to even do anything about this. And so a nafs that has become corrupted and you just accept it, you know what, this is it. This is it. I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to become better. This is it. This is, how can that nafs change if you don't want it to change? Allah Ta'ala does not force hidayah. Remember this. Allah Ta'ala gives opportunities to everyone. These windows open, these doors open, وَإِنَّ أَتَانِي يَمْشِي أَتَيْتُهُ حَرْوَلًا. You have to step through it first, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you. It's against the ghayrat of Allah ta'ala. Right? It's like Allah ta'ala is it. And we're nobodies, and we're pretending to be somebody. Really, it's a pretense. We're pretending to be somebody when we are nothing. Really, we're nothing. Even if you take 8 billion people and not even look at it from a religious perspective, we're nobodies. On this small planet called Earth, that you move away, you can't even see it. I mean, talk about those big ones, Jupiter, and what's that? Right? I mean, this is a small planet, and Sun is a small star in this big galaxy, and this galaxy is a small galaxy, the cluster of galaxies, and really, this is why astronomy is very important to take. I mean, if you look at the known universe, what they call, astronomy, visible universe. I mean, it is so huge. You cannot even be like, you're talking billions and billions and billions of galaxies. Each have billions of stars. We're just one small star. And, the star is called Sol, right? Solar system. And, a very tiny planet, and we're living, that's like 75% water, right? We're not even part of the water, we're part of the terrain, and still we're fighting over each other over this like piece of land, and in that we're given very small, this plot of land. Oh, this is mine. It's ajib. I mean, we're nobodies, and yet we pretend to be, that we are somebody. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I mean, this is like the infinite mercy that despite being nothing, Allah ta'ala still allows us to gain His ma'rifah. Because He has put something special with us. This ruh that does make it special, this qalb that does make it special, that nafs is also special. But you have to take care of all of them, just like the bridge has to be taken. There's maintenance, constant maintenance. Noman's father, mashallah, he used to work in the city, New York City. And he was a civil engineer, and he was part of I would always ask him, what do you do, like in Brooklyn Bridge and Palau Bridge, and because he was part of the maintenance. He's an engineer, and like, how do you maintain these bridges, keep them working? Right? I was like, mashallah, he's like the Shaykh bridge, right? And so we need somebody who can maintain our batin and batini halat, and some engineers. Right? That's what we call our mashayikh as well. That help to keep it regulated, so it doesn't become sick and corrupted. So inshallah ta'ala, we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah ta'ala allows us, inshallah ta'ala, to have a batin that is pleasing to Allah ta'ala, to have a heart that Allah ta'ala's mercy is upon, and the nafs that Allah ta'ala is pleased with. And Allah ta'ala gives us purity of our zahir and purity of our batin. Ameen ya Rabbul Alameen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.